Good morning, good morning, good morning. We are back for another episode of the Buckeye BS. I am here with my boy Cleveland Mike and my guy Cam. Fellas, how you doing?
Hanging tough.
Great. Doing great.
Slip right into the old intro. It's been a minute since we've been here, fellas. How have y'all been?
Doing good, man. Just hanging out. Enjoyed the holidays, hanging out with the family. Can't complain.
Mike flexing my next Amazon purchase because I've never seen that mug, and I'm gonna have to go get one immediately after this show. Y'all get any new Buckeye gear for Christmas? We haven't talked on camera since then. Christmas is usually when I load up on my Buckeye gear. You wouldn't know because I wear the same hoodie and hat every day, but I do have a ton of Buckeye gear. I just wear the same shit. Did you guys get any new Buckeye gear? Are you the person in the family that people don't even have to ask what to buy for? They just search Ohio State and then filter to the shopping tab and well, that's going to work.
Big facts, man. My family, they normally give me like some mugs. My sister got me this one. I want to say a couple of years ago. My wife got me this one, and then my parents got me some slippers, some Ohio State slippers that I just showed on the screen. So, yeah, I'm good.
Cam, did you get any new gear for Christmas, or did you grab any while you were in my city for the holiday?
I did not get any new gear. I pretty much handled that myself. But
you've been to a couple games this year, so you've had to load up to get fresh in person.
No, I got gear, bro. I had me a little pullover, you know what I mean? I got me a little fucking windbreaker, you know what I mean? My lucky windbreaker OSU gear. So I got a little get up, man.
You wasn't passing out any block O's for people in the Berg? You didn't bring home no Buckeye gear for the Yinzers?
Nah, bro. They're on a PSU train right now. So,
oh man, that's disgusting. That's disgusting. They're very close to Pittsburgh, so to side with the Nittany Lions, an interesting choice there. But we got plenty to talk to. It's been a minute since we talked. I want to go a little bit back in the Wayback Machine and talk about the Tennessee game, because all the hype coming into the playoffs was about how the SEC was just the most elite conference in all of college football, and they had so many deserving 9-3 teams that should have made the playoffs, in the likes of South Carolina, Ole Miss, Missouri. And you see Tennessee come to Columbus, allegedly take over the shoe, and get smacked in front of 40,000 of their own fans, if you let them tell it.
As a person that was there, I can tell you that it was a lot of people there that were not Buckeye fans, more so than I've seen. But with that being said, the energy there was just crazy. Because I went to the Indiana game too, and it just seemed like we just came out and just whooped their ass, and like that, because all you heard was Rocky Top, bro, all day. They sang Rocky Top over our band, singing the alma mater, and that kind of just got the crowd going a little bit about them just being disrespectful and thinking they could just come into the shoe and do whatever the fuck they want. And we came out that first drive, whooped their ass. We ain't heard them motherfuckers since. So,
I've heard them since. They've been holding Michigan's pocket on the timeline for a week now. Mike, how you feeling about that game?
Yeah, the Tennessee game, Tennessee fans were so mad at us because we didn't say anything to them really on Twitter or do any battles with them or whatever. They were just upset that we treated them like they were Purdue. And to be honest, on the field, they looked like we played Purdue. So, all of those Tennessee fans that was talking, shout out our guy Lito. He said that he had been waiting years for this game, man. And I can't believe you've been waiting years just for that. Enjoy.
Yep. Yeah, man. It feels like that one's a long a long ways coming, all the way back to the debates of Marv versus Jalen Hyatt in spaces with Smokey and Lito. It was good to see the Buckeyes go out there and win in dominant fashion. I was shocked by this victory. Cam and I talked before the game, and he laid out a theory that we'll get into later in the episode, but he was not worried about this game. I thought the Buckeyes would win, but I did not think it would look that dominant. Were you surprised by the Buckeyes bringing their complete A game for the first round of the college football playoffs, being that they looked so out of sorts against Michigan a few weeks prior to that?
No, because I mean, as crazy as it sounds, like if you go watch the Michigan tape, there was all type of chicken all over the tape where it was just like, why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we doing this? And the biggest emphasis being on the gap run scheme and running counters. We averaged like almost 6 yards a carry on Michigan when we ran counter and gap, and then we just went away from it and ran stretch. And that's the majority of what we've been doing on offense to get the run game going, is running gap scheme, running counters. And as you can see against the Tennessee defensive line that they told us was going to be so awesome, we destroyed them with new faces like Luke Montgomery and those guys. And we also can see what happened with that with the pass game, getting into the RPOs, getting to the play actions. You get those safeties walked up in the box, and now we got 4 1-on-1 and it's curtains. So it's just a philosophy change a little bit that I'm seeing on offense that we didn't run against Michigan, which is why I'm so confused why everyone's always talking about the Michigan game. I'm like, I told the Tennessee fans and I told the Oregon fans, I'm like, you keep worrying about the Michigan game when we aren't even running the same scheme on offense or defense that we were running against that team up north. And on top of that, the motherfucker scored 1 touchdown against our defense, and it was because of an interception on our own 10-yard line. So go watch that tape and go watch our fucking defensive line absolutely destroying Michigan. Go watch them destroy Tennessee, and just like we destroyed Oregon. Got me,
Mike.
Man.
Yeah,
got me pumped up, man.
Yeah, and I think that's the real issue. People do not watch film, and this is a good plug right here. Go check out our Discord, Best Damn Media Discord, man. We're always in there watching film, breaking down film, of other teams. So if you actually want to talk ball and watch film, come check us out in Discord. But was I a little bit surprised? Here's what I told everybody. I told everybody our defense is going to show up. That's one thing that I knew. Our defense was going to show up. Now, with our weapons, I know that we could smack anybody in the country. The only thing that I was worried about was our coaches. But, one thing that I believe me and Cam have had this conversation multiple times is something about Ryan Day in the postseason. It's just something about that Ryan Day in the playoffs.
You guys want to talk X's and O's? I think they have a better theory in the chat. Our guy Ron said, I told Ron about that white hoodie. Things change when you threw the black on. You guys want to give credit to the defensive line and the coaching staff, but Ron knows the real hero in all of this, and that's me for changing up and switching from the white hoodie back to the black hoodie, and now it's back to business. We got a super chat from our guy, Mr. Jones. Thanks for the 5. Fellas, what's good? That Twitter X space was crazy with the Texas fans yesterday. I can't wait till we beat their ass.
Man, that space was like 4 hours long, I think.
Yeah, bro. We had almost 2,000 people come through. Listen, Texas fans. Texas fans are a special bunch, bro. They're like a more recently successful Miami, proud program, borderline blue blood. I wouldn't really put them exactly in the blue blood category, but they have faith in their team, and they think that they're going to do things that they want to do, barring the tape. Like, they don't believe that the tape and the things that they put on tape is relevant, and they don't think the trends are relevant. So we're going to see. All I know is that my team is trending up, my team is trending good, and their team is not. So let's see if that makes a difference in Dallas.
Coming off the Tennessee matchup, it set up a rematch that Buckeye fans thought was going to happen earlier in the season, but we had to wait a few extra weeks to get our get back against the Oregon Ducks. This was a game going into that I was not very confident going into. I thought all things on paper pointed to an advantage to Oregon, given how the first matchup went, the return of Jordan Birch that they told us was, Chase Young in an Oregon Ducks uniform. If you looked on Twitter before that game, you had them getting their receiver back because they didn't plan on spitting on us this game. And then the Buckeyes had a makeshift offensive line. And Will Howard, in that Oregon defensive line, had a field day in that first game. So I wanted to ask you guys, were you surprised? I know some Buckeye fans were confident going into this game, but did any of you see 17-0 in the first quarter?
I know right after the game, Cam and I had talked about this game, and Cam was at that the first Oregon game, right? And he was saying the biggest issue, with our defense was they weren't handling the tempo and weren't getting set. I honestly think even with that defense that we was using, we probably could have still beat them if our defense had got set. But what I had kept asking the Oregon fans, or when I was on the Oregon show, was everybody keeps watching that first game or keep talking about that first game. What does Oregon have for Ohio State's defense now? I heard Dan Lanning, even in his interview, every time I'm watching film of Ohio State's defense, it's something new that pops up that we got to go and look at and study and everything. There's not enough time for the multiple defense that Jim knows is just throwing at people. I remember during the game, you had Oregon fans tweeting and talking. They're in the 3-3-5. What is going on? We ain't seen that. Yeah, you didn't see this the first game. This is what we were talking about. Were they going to be ready? And I didn't think that they were going to be ready. The way our offense came out in the Tennessee game, I said if they just continue that with that hunger, they're going to beat the heck out of Oregon, man. Was I surprised? Maybe a little bit by how quick it happened. But the fact that we beat them by 20 or looked like we were the better team, not surprised one bit.
After seeing the performance that JJ put on in the Rose Bowl, it couldn't help but make me think about the JSN performance. And you look at JJ's performance and how dominant it was. You have to take a second and, man, admire what JSN was able to do in the Rose Bowl, setting those records, 360 some odd yards in that game. You look what JJ did and how dominant he was. He only had 180 yards. JSN almost had double that in the Rose Bowl against Utah. How impressed were you with Jeremiah's performance in the Rose Bowl? And it seems like the Buckeyes could have been doing that all year if they chose to.
I was extremely impressed, but we've seen glimpses of this in the first matchup, right? Because we seen JJ blow by Nico Reed several times in that game, and Bill either didn't see him or Bill underthrows him. So these explosive plays were all there the first matchup that we just weren't clicking on all cylinders, especially with that deep ball earlier in the season we were talking about, and it wasn't there. But Jeremiah Smith, bro, he has, over the course of the season, honed his skills and on the little things with the details. If you go back and excuse me, if you go back and watch week 4, week 5, his route running versus his route running now, him controlling his pacing and the way that he tracks on his route, knowing when to slow down, knowing when to speed up, the head movement, that touchdown that he had on that throwback pass to Will to go up 24, that was 100% off of his head movement and controlling his body and getting that safety to flip his hips just off of his head movement alone. So he's playing like a vet. He's playing way beyond his years. He's a special guy, generational talent, a real generational talent, not just something, that people just say. And we're blessed to have him. And I don't think that anybody's going to have an answer for him in this playoff, personally.
Yeah, it looks like Ohio Ohio sports fans, I mean, for their pain and suffering with the Bengals and Browns, they've been blessed with two generational talents in their lifetime. If you're watching this show, given LeBron James and now Jeremiah Smith, I don't know what's in well. The water for Jeremiah Smith started in Miami, but something special's happening in Ohio right now with Jeremiah Smith, and I hope Buckeye fans realize what they are watching. Mike, your thoughts from that performance? Is that something that you thought the Buckeyes could have been doing all year?
I'm gonna say I don't believe that we could have been doing it all year. I think the reason that we were able to do it is just because Jeremiah went to Brian Hartline and asked to be challenged. Now you're seeing Jeremiah line up in the slot where guys are in defenses and defensive coordinators want to put bracket coverage on him. And then I hear on PFF, I was watching PFF and their breakdown on our offense scheme and our defense scheme. And the one thing that they kept saying was before you would see a Mecca on one side and JJ on one side. Well, now you can't bracket them when they're putting them on the same side, and then you see Jeremiah move into the slot. It's very hard to bracket the guy once he gets in the slot. So also, like Cam was saying, his route running is getting better, but also his awareness on the field is getting better. Remember when we were like, man, JJ, you were right there for the first. What you doing? He's doing that now. He did it in the Oregon game with one of his catches, made sure that he got the first before he went down. Also, his spatial awareness in that first game against Oregon, he was leading the defender too close to the sideline too early. Now you see him, he's getting the spacing on the field and everything. He's doing it at a better level. And at this point in time, Ryan Day likes to say, you're no longer a freshman here. You're a veteran. You're basically a sophomore, and that's how JJ is acting. So
I wanted to pivot to the other side of the ball in this game. It seemed like a complete role reversal from the trenches in game one. The Buckeyes could not get after Dylan Gabriel at all. He stayed clean the entire game. 0 sacks, 2 tackles for losses in the Buckeyes matchup against Oregon early in the season. Oregon was able to get 1 sack, 2 or 3 tackles for loss in that game and seemed to be able to at least pressure Will Howard. A complete 360 this next game when the Buckeyes are 180. Sorry, it's early in the morning. For the Buckeyes, they're able to get 8 sacks, 13 tackles for losses, where the Ducks are in this matchup only able to get 3 tackles for losses, 0 sacks. What do you think the big change was for the Buckeyes to allow them to not only get after the passer, but also keep Will Howard clean this game?
I mean, it's just this. I'm not trying to say Texas is just another game, but like, bro, what did we hear about Tennessee and James Pierce and their front? No, matter of fact, let's go back. Let's go back to Indiana. What did we hear about Indiana's front? Right, Mike, Ron? Like, what do we hear about them?
Facts.
Oh, they have the number 2 rushing defense. Oh, they have the best D line that we're going to see. Shit on them with the makeshift offensive line. James Pierce, oh my God, he's going to be a first-round draft pick. This is one of the best D lines, probably the second best D line in the SEC behind Georgia, Texas, blah blah blah. Will untouched this week. Oh my God, Jordan Birch, he's back. Mateo, he leads the Big Ten in sacks. What's his name? Derek Harmon, he's going to be. Oh my God, you guys, you have Luke Montgomery in there. What are you going to do? Like, why should I be worried about Texas at this point, bro? Like, my Buckeyes show up every single week against the new Thanos D-line that they want to hype up, bro. Every single week. So it's like, I feel like Bill is so locked into the point where we know that Texas likes to blitz, right? They run a 34 scheme, so they like to blitz. They're going to send a lot of fire zones, and that's to our advantage, bro, because I'm taking my receivers one-on-one on a hot over anything that they got going over there in the Texas defense. So I think Bill's going to be upright. Colin Simmons, get to him. Maybe, he's special. He's a nice guy. But is it going to be a situation to where they're dictating the pace of our offense and the tempo and what we want to do passing? I don't think so.
Mike?
Yeah, I think they're, like Cam, to finish that end point, that Cam was making. You know, if they want to blitz, good luck. You know, you're going to blitz and then leave Trey wide open. You're going to blitz and then go ahead and G. Scott pops a 30-yarder. You know, like there's so many matchups over the field, but talking about the trenches and our offensive line, what Luke Montgomery is doing. And this is what I was talking to someone, I believe Ryan, when I was on his show. I said, everyone keeps talking about Ohio State's offensive line. And this was going into the Oregon game. And I said, Mateo, he has a full season on his body, right? Harmon, full season on his body. I said, Birch, coming back from injury, right? Like, so he's not fully there. I said, we got guys. Carson Hinsman does not have a full season on his body. Same with Luke Montgomery. Same with Austin Saraville. Like, I mean, you can kind of say the same thing about Donnie because he didn't start the beginning of the season because we was holding him out. So I felt like our guys were coming into this game fresh, and Ryan Day kept saying that, and everybody was wondering, why is Ryan Day saying, hey, we're as healthy as we've been? And they're like, but you're losing all of these offensive line. You got this many combinations. And one thing that I haven't been worried about, even with our different combinations, is pass blocking. Even when we've had concerns about guys on the offensive line, pass blocking has been there. But the run game, I really think that it has to do with the new gap schemes and things that we are running in the run game that really put linebackers who normally are filling in those gaps against us, is putting them in conflict where they're having to think too much. And by that time, Trey Sermon or Judkins is already bombed.
You guys both touched on Ohio State's offensive line being able to thwart the next new defensive line threat every week for what feels like a month now. Justin Fry has to be looking at the timeline, sitting on YouTube, consuming all of this content of all the people that have fired him multiple times in his tenure here at Ohio State. I asked a question that I've probably asked 100 times on this platform this season. Where do you stand with Justin Fry after the performances that he's put together with all of the injuries that he's seen this season on this offensive line?
I mean, I stand where I've always stood, where it's like, what do you value more? You know, like, do you value on-field performance? Do you value knowing that no matter who you put out there is going to have a higher understanding and be able to learn the offense and be able to run the scheme? Or do you value bringing in high-end talent with high floors, you know? Because you're not going to, from what we've seen so far, you're not going to get the top talent with Justin Fry. You're not going to get the 5 stars, but what you are going to get is the guys that are in the building is going to know how to do their job at a high level. So it's like, what do you do in that situation?
Not only that, I mean, if you value high school recruiting and stars more than production and the transfer portal, because, I mean, again, you look what he was able to do with Josh Simmons, and then he follows it up by going out and getting 2 transfer tackles in this portal cycle with the Buckeyes thin on numbers in that room. So even with maybe the lack of high-end 5-star offensive tackle talent from Justin Fry, I mean, he does get it done in the portal and make up for that. I feel like the only complaint at this point, at least with me for Justin Fry, is I still want to see the numbers come up from the high school recruits. I don't care what their stars are. You know my saying, 6'6", 300, sign them. I don't care. It's a developmental position if they don't make it. I mean, you see multiple offensive linemen exiting for the portal from the Buckeyes this season. So if they don't work out, they don't work out, but make sure there's bodies in the room as you see how needed they are right now. I mean, yeah, they're fielding a great offensive line, but you also want to be able to field a serviceable backup line so you can run with the 2s and the scout team. So you would just like to see those numbers come up with the high school recruiting, even if they're not the high-end talent. Just go get the body type and get them in the room. It is a developmental position and see what shakes. I mean, this is the university that, you know, turned DeJuan Jones, a former basketball player, into a 4th-round tackle in the NFL that's still starting. So you never know. Mike, Your thoughts on Justin Fry these days?
Man, I gotta be consistent, man. One thing that I said from the very beginning of the offseason is if Justin Fry shows me development, man, I want him here. But here's the thing: it goes with what does Ryan Day want? Like Cam said, what do you value more? Ryan Day has always told us that you have to be able to recruit. Well, obviously, we know Justin Fry has an issue just getting bodies in. I think that is an issue. So there's ways to work around that, right? Ryan Day needs to get more involved with the offensive line recruiting. And I think if Ryan Day does that, we can hit on those big-time players as long as Ryan Day goes ahead and kind of be primary on that, right? But one thing that I've always said is go get me the dogs. Go get me the dogs. I see Luke Montgomery out here with a broken freaking nose, just bleeding everywhere. And the dude's still out there making plays and making pancakes. That's what I want. That's what I need.
I want pancakes now too.
Go give me them Ohio guys. Seeing them Ohio guys out there, man, I love it. Dogs, it means something more. And like we have always said, when we go to win national championships, the guys that are the heartbeat of the team are the Ohio guys. So, I got to give Justin Fry all his credit for development. But, brother, please get better at recruiting. Lord Jesus, please.
Speaking of development, a big gripe of Buckeye fans last year was their inability for their wide receivers to block. Did you guys see Brandon Ennis out there just mauling people in that Oregon game? It seems like a complete attitude shift of this team, especially when you see wide receivers out there. I mean, Brandon Ennis signed with the Buckeyes in 2023 as the only 5-star in the Big Ten in that class, and he's sat behind a guy that just broke the all-time receiving record at Ohio State, and in his second year still willing in the college football playoffs to get on the field and go out there and do the little things for this team to contribute for a national championship. And I wouldn't even call them little things. I would call them the dirty things for a team, because it's not a little feat to go out there and know that you have a guy like that you can put in the game on these stretch runs, on these runs to the boundary, where you have a pit bull out there, a wide receiver out there in the secondary blocking. Your guys' thoughts on the wide receivers level up in blocking this year, because I feel like it was on full display against Oregon this past week.
That's just what comes with championship football, man. You know what I mean? Like, Chip Kelly already said in the offseason that, to play for him, to run his scheme, to do what we want to do, to take that next leap in the run game is to be efficient at blocking our wide receiver. Now, I think earlier in the season, the effort was definitely there. You would see guys try to get blocks and probably just miss ID a little bit. But now in the playoffs, we just see everything clicking. We see the effort, we see the physicality, we see the understanding, we see the execution of the blocking, which is basically becoming an issue for teams, because now it's bringing our run game, which is absolutely dominant right now. I feel like we're running for like 6-7 yards a carry in these playoffs. It seems like by just getting explosives off every game, and our running backs aren't getting beat up in the process. So that's a big up to Brian Hartline. It's a big up to Ryan Day. It's a big up to Chip Kelly for coming in the offseason and saying this is something that we need to do. This is something that we need to make an emphasis and putting on tape when we need it the most.
Mike?
Yeah, man. I mean, I want to give a shout out to Brandon Ennis, bro, because, I mean, what do we always know about Brandon? That he was a dog, that he was physical, and, I mean, that's what you want. And I think that he is going to bring that standard back to the wide receiver room. And like Cam said, everything's hitting out on the perimeter now. And I think that these guys just understand, man, it takes more than just being that elite catcher or elite. Like, if it's really about the team, if it's really about the love of your brother, go lay somebody out on the outside, man. But I mean, that's one thing that I thought coming into this season was going to be different. Like guys like Carnell, guys like Brandon Ennis, guys like JJ, they had that dog mentality, man, and they want to show it.
All three of those guys have something in common, Mike. What is that?
SF motherfucking E, baby.
And it's so funny that people have always had the jokes about, oh, Ohio State's building a 7-on-7 team. You guys must not be familiar with this 7-on-7 team because you have those three wide receivers out there blocking on perimeter. And then you see our guy Ryan Dave's beard saying, I'm still dying ass laughing about Lathan Ransom coming downhill and hitting Jordan James and making him quit.
Somebody got.
I don't know many 7-on-7 teams hitting like that, but I mean, I just don't feel like those jokes are hitting the same that Ohio State's building a 7-on-7 team when they have two-time national champion Jeremiah Smith, one-time national champion Jeremiah Smith, national champs in Brandon Ennis and Carnell Tate on this team now, and boys are out there hitting. I mean, one of the biggest clips from this show is Cam talking about pads haven't been popping since the 99s and the 2000s. Might be time to retire that clip because Ohio State might be the hardest hitting team in college football right
now. Yeah, I'd say so. Hey, them fighting Irish hitting too. I ain't gonna hold you. Them Notre Dame boys tagging motherfuckers too. I ain't But we definitely putting that work in and being physical. And the things that we hated the most, Mike, remember, Ron, we would say, man, why are we just tackling motherfuckers, bro? Like, why every time somebody get a run, it just seems like we're dragging them to the ground? Now we hitting. You know what I mean? That's what I was talking about earlier. I'm like, that shit matters for 4 quarters when you finish a play and hit a motherfucker every single play. We've seen 2 running backs now make business decisions.
You know what Lathan Ransom reminds me of? Like, y'all remember like that crash out kid from the neighborhood that always had the bike with no brakes on it? Like, you just knew that person, like, they wasn't going to stop them from going anywhere. They had a bike with no brakes. They could be the end, but they were still rolling. And that feels like Lathan Ransom out on the field because it feels like it's all gas, no brakes out there because when he comes downhill, I mean, you might as well just say a prayer because he's out there smacking shit.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's one thing that we have always known about Lathan Ransom, man. He wants to come downhill and he wants to inflict pain. I mean, Tennessee is still out there looking for a better helmet for Nico because Lathan Ransom went ahead and took both helmets out. So I mean, well, Cody Simon did one, but anyways, Lathan Ransom just coming out there making guys have business decisions, man. And it's not just Lathan; it's a lot of guys, and that's what you need. But I wonder if the guys have been allowed to tackle in practice because I said this on this platform. I said it's a different feeling when you out there practicing tackling versus just not practicing tackling and just going out there doing it on Saturdays. And it feels like these guys have been practicing tackling, been hitting, and it's different. So shout out to Jim Knowles. Sometimes you got to change your philosophy up when you want to get better results.
It sounds like nails on a chalkboard every time I hear someone reference Saturday after just playing a Wednesday football game. Get me back to my regular scheduled programming and play football on Saturdays.
That's Buckeye time. What the coaches say? We on Buckeye time.
Mm-hmm. We got a couple super chats that I want to get to. Shout out to our guy, Tom Ridley. Morning, shipmate. Shout out to Cam. Fellas, difference is not being predictable using stunts, traps, misdirection, player coach meeting wake-up call. Yeah, I believe there was a players meeting before the playoffs started. And, I mean, you saw Davidson Igbenogson touch on it on the sidelines. He didn't want to get too much into it, but pretty much said the leaders of this team came together and to rally this team. And we've talked about that in years past. I mean, we go all the way back to the 2021 Michigan loss when me and Mike were talking after the game or even during the game at the fourth quarter. You see people rallying each other, standing on benches on the Michigan sideline, bringing that team together. And we've been asking, where's that leadership? Where's that leadership? And Ryan Day has almost deflected that notion that they don't have that by just saying, well, this isn't really a vocal bunch. But clearly there's been a need for it, and people have stepped up, and even the guys that weren't as vocal in years past have asserted themselves as vocal leaders. Even JTT taking a larger vocal leadership role this year with the team. So to see those guys rally the team and not give up, because the fan base, and to know that while the fan base was in the moment ready to burn it all down, tear it all down, that this team was inside the Woody rallying each other, not giving up on the season, I think shows the type of team that this is and what they're made of and why they look like they do in the college football playoff now.
I agree.
We have another super chat from our guy T Spivvy. Morning gang, thanks for the 5. Shout out to our guy J8. Thanks for the 5. Love the physicality shown on Sunday, and also thanks for being a member here at Best Damn Media. Back to the Oregon game. Were you guys surprised by the success that the offense was able to have in all phases of the game? Because it felt like the Buckeyes were going to do whatever they wanted to do. It seemed like we haven't seen complete games from the Buckeyes outside of the Tennessee game. While the Michigan game, we can agree that was an anomaly. We have seen the Buckeyes have not play incomplete games, I would say, where you're not getting the full Death Star performance that you've seen out of the Buckeyes in these past 2 performances. You see Will Howard have his best passing game of the year, 326 yards, 2 touchdowns. TreVeyon Henderson adds 87 yards on the – I'm reading the old notes. 319 yards, 3 touchdowns from Will Howard. Now, I looked at the TreVeyon stats, and I'm like, he had 2 touchdowns. This is the last game. 94 yards. 2 touchdowns from TreVeyon Henderson. Quinshon Judkins adds 17 carries and 85 yards. It feels like when Will Howard is passing the ball and then the two-headed monster, we talked about it early in the season, how demoralizing that has to be for defenses when you have Quinshon Judkins in the game just beating on a defense and you're like, oh, thank God he's going out of the game. And then on runs TreVeyon Henderson, former number 1 back in his recruiting class, in his 4th year, still ripping the hearts out of defenses because, Cam, we've talked about this all the time. Big game Trey. Say what you want, complain about him all you want. When it comes time for a big run, it seems like TreVeyon reminds everyone, I can be my own offense, and he pops out with a long run, and it seems like the most timely moments for the Buckeyes, and he does it again, and it feels like he snatched the heart of Oregon fans with that run this past week. What were your thoughts? What were the thoughts going through your head when TreVeyon Henderson ripped off that run? Because everyone that follows this show or follows us, they know we have the Bleacher Report post game. Mike has his post game on the Voice of College Football. So we're getting our notes ready by the second half, getting ready for post games. And I hear the announcer call as it's happening, and I look up from my phone and I just see TreVeyon Henderson running with no one ahead of him. What were your guys' thoughts when the Buckeyes scored there?
I just felt like this calming relief over me. I'm like, man, this team is locked in. This team is finally clicking. This team finally gets it. Like, we're going to win a national title with this mentality. And this is the team that we've been looking for the whole time, because I'm not going to lie. How many of you out there were waiting for that second half, little lull from the offense where you're just like, okay,
I call it the Ryan Day halftime special, where he comes out and fucking runs the ball 3 times in a row, 1 yard, 2 yards, and then he runs it again on 3rd and 8 and punts, and it's like, really?
Yeah, but
that's the best you got.
we came out, finished that half, because that was in the second quarter. We finished that half running the ball, scoring points, and then came out that second half, got to stop. It just felt like a different OSU team. It just felt like Ryan Day had an ego death of some sort, of what his problems have been in the past. And he stepped out of his comfort zone and challenged himself to not be the same guy that we've known in these types of games. And you can see it from the team, because they're not playing or doing the same things that we've seen in these situations. Even in 2022 with Georgia, where we got vanilla on defense once we got a lead. Ryan Day said, fuck it. Keep the pedal on the metal. Keep blitzing. I'm not scared of an explosive because what's going to happen is Dylan Gabriel's going to get fucked up or we're going to get an interception. In the past, Ryan Day would have told, hey, stay back, keep everything in front of you, blah, blah, blah. Don't give up the big play. But when our defense was playing that aggressive with the lead, that is not Ohio State like, and that was the difference that I've seen. Why I have faith that we're going to go all the way, bro.
Mike, how much do you think that has to do with Ryan Day's trust in Will Howard, given his experience as a quarterback and having played in big moments, not only at Ohio State, but also at Kansas State?
Yeah, I don't think that is just faith in Will Howard, man. I think after that team meeting, man, they told him, you like, what did you bring us here for? To not have faith in us? You know, I think that like you said earlier, it was an ego death. For real. Like, I think we have seen Jim Knowles get back to being Jim Knowles and him being himself where he's dictating what offenses do on defense, which is what he said that he wanted to do and what he was supposed to do from the very, very beginning when he got here. So just the coaches allowing to be themselves now, I think is what's being great for this team, man, and the players are feeding off of it. And now you can actually see when the players say, oh, we got a good game plan, I trust the coach's game plan, you can actually believe and trust when they say that now.
Yeah, it feels like a different coaching staff. It also feels like Mike might be cheating ahead in the notes because that takes us right to our next topic. And I was going to ask you guys, after seeing the two performances from this offense, I mean, it like you know Chip Kelly's in his bag when you start seeing the running backs get involved in the pass game, the constant misdirection pre-snap. And it makes you wonder. And I hate to talk about these motherfuckers in the middle of a national championship run, but you have to look at those two games and go, smells like Ryan Day. When you look at that Michigan game, because you look at that game plan, you look at how they called plays, and it's like, smells like Ryan Day. Do you look at these two games and ask yourself what happened with the play calling and with the game plan? Do you feel like it was, everyone talks about, oh, it was Ryan Day's ego. It's the Ohio State ego. They tried to beat Michigan the Michigan way. Chip Kelly hasn't lost to Michigan 4 years in a row. Chip Kelly just got here. So why would Chip Kelly get sucked into that mentality? What do you guys think happened there? Do you think is this a coping mechanism that I can't accept the fact that Chip Kelly got outcoached in that matchup, or does it smell like Ryan Day had something to do with that?
I say they both had something to do with it. And that's how I look at it as, because my thing is Chip, you supposed to be Ryan's mentor. Why can't you sit here and say, I'm going to go ahead, go against what Ryan is saying, win the game, and then, I apologize later, right? That's what I was saying. So I blame both of them on that game, man. But my thing is, man, I think Ryan Day and Chip Kelly, they got an offshore account somewhere, because that ain't make sense. You could have caught a better game than that, Ryan.
Yeah, whatever was going on there, it seems that they have been able to sort it out. Cam, what do you think happened there?
My honest opinion about what happened, bro, I think that I don't have proof of this, but this is just my theory. I think that Bill got concussed and Ryan Day was like, okay, they're not going to be able to score on us. We need to just get out of here, kick a few field goals, get out of here and win a close game and move on. And I think that we panicked on offense when Jaden Fielding missed those two field goals and Ryan Day realized that this was going to be a 1 or 2 possession game against Michigan. And I think the nerves and all of the things of the ghosts of the past caught up to him and he got into his own head. That's what I think happened, personally.
It feels like Ryan Day has an opportunity to exercise one of those demons from his past and get rid of a demon that's been sitting with this fan base for years as Ryan Day prepares to take off face off against a familiar foe in Quinn Ewers and the Texas Longhorns. It's much been debated about Quinn Ewers' departure from Ohio State ever since he left, with the decision to burn Kyle McCord's red shirt that year and put him in ahead of Quinn Ewers. It felt like it set off a domino effect for things to happen in years to come. And now Ryan Day is now face-to-face with this decision. It feels like Ryan Day has an opportunity to put to bed the entire J.J. McCarthy, Kyle McCord, Quinn Ewers, Devin Brown saga if he's able to defeat Quinn Ewers in this matchup. I said preseason that this was my biggest nightmare ending to the season, the Buckeyes facing off against Texas and a potential loss to Quinn Ewers. We are officially here. Do you guys believe that Ryan Day has something to prove and settle here with Quinn Ewers after the fallout here with the Buckeyes?
I don't think so. I'm not really on that board with Quinn Ewers. I mean, the bro was here for 2.5 seconds. He was an early enrollee anyway, so he really wasn't expected to even play or to be a force that first year. And he left after a year to go back to Texas, to the school where he claims that he originally wanted to be. So I'm not really going to hold that against Ryan Day. I don't think Ryan Day really thinks about that. I definitely think there's more to the JJ Kyle McCord situation than there's a Quinn. I don't really think that that's a factor, in my opinion, with Ryan Day.
Well, I mean, in that scenario, you could argue if Quinn ends up staying and Kyle McCord ends up being his backup, and Kyle's the one that transferred. Are you saying that Ryan Day made the wrong decision if he has Quinn Ewers there instead of Kyle McCord, and it's Quinn Ewers and JJ McCarthy versus Kyle McCord and JJ McCarthy?
I mean, how much better is Quinn than Kyle, though?
Do you think Quinn wins that game last year?
I mean, Quinn and Kyle do a lot of the similar things, bro. They make a lot of dumb passes and make a lot of mistakes in the clutch.
One of them has beat Michigan in their career. The other has not.
That's true. That's true. But
the only Buckeye from the 2021 class with gold pants.
That's true. I don't know. Maybe Quinn does. Yeah, maybe Quinn. I'll say Quinn wins. But
Mike, your thoughts there on the Quinn Ewers revenge game against the Buckeyes, or is it a Ryan Day revenge game against Quinn Ewers?
Yeah, I mean, if anybody's feeling sour grapes on this, I would say it could be Quinn Ewers, just for the simple fact that he's like, why was Kyle McCord ahead of me? You know, I don't think Ryan Day's thinking about it like that. I think what Ryan Day did is what he said he did right when he got on the plane, man. He started going in, looking at tape. And I think Ryan Day, Jim Knowles is gonna have something for Quinn, but I don't think that it's because Quinn left or anything like that. I could see like the teammates having jokes about that and it being a little rivalry between, you know, some of the 2021 class that's still on Ohio State and Quinn.
I wanted to dive into the game a little bit. Sure, plenty to discuss throughout the week regarding this game, but I wanted to ask you guys, it feels like this game is going to come down to the trenches. On paper, I mean, you let Texas fans tell it. You let SEC fans tell it. Texas has the advantage. You let the numbers tell it. You let the tape tell it. Buckeyes have an advantage. Where do you lean on this trenches battle going into this game?
People gonna say I'm biased, bro. Right? They're gonna say I'm biased, but it's like,
I mean, you do have an Ohio State hat on.
This is one of the years where we can kind of act like how SEC teams have acted towards us all these years, right? And be like, what offenses have you played? What defenses have you played? Who have you played? They played the bottom 6, 7 teams in the SEC. What quarterback have they played that even has a pulse other than Carson Beck?
And I mean, I have their answer for you to all of these questions.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like,
but their answer is going to be Michigan beat your fucking up.
Okay, that's cool. You beat Michigan in week 2, week 3, like when they were.
Are you saying Michigan's a slept-on team better than people think right now?
I'm saying that Michigan was a much better team in November than they were in September.
I mean, you can make the argument of 5
but
loss.
only ball knowers know that, Cam.
Like,
People who don't really do their homework, they don't know stuff like that.
Right.
It's fair to ask the question. What could Michigan maybe seen Texas for a rematch in the SEC championship if they were in an easy conference like the SEC last year?
But I'm just saying, bro. We've played better offenses, played better defenses. Texas schedule was trash. They've only played 2 playoff teams, which was Georgia 2 times, and they lost to Carson Beck with 5,000 turnovers. Still couldn't score in that defense. And then they had a rematch against Georgia against their backup and still lost because they couldn't score. And I watched Notre Dame and their offense absolutely dictate that game and destroy Georgia in the trenches with backups. So it's like, why am I supposed to feel this way about Texas for what? Based off of their schedule. And that's how they've treated us. That's how the narrative has been about teams outside the SEC this whole time, is who's you played. And we're going to make our opinions off of that. They played nobody. We have. So they got to show me.
I saw a text from a Texas beat writer go out talking about this Texas team being beat up after that overtime win over Arizona State. And it makes you think. We've been talking for years about this Buckeyes team needing to rotate guys and keep guys healthy. It felt like for the past 2 years, we've been getting out a roll of duct tape to put Tommy Eichenberg back together for the final game of the season. And this year, the Buckeyes are going into a semifinal game with, it feels like, a healthy team outside of the offensive line. Do you think the Buckeyes' intentional rotation this year, even down to how deep they went into their roster against Oregon and Tennessee with the rotations, do you think the Buckeyes have learned from years past and their need to stay healthy and fresh for the semifinals, especially with this extended playoff? We've talked all year about the need to be healthy and fresh for the end of the season, given the much longer season, having to win 4 games to win a national championship. And even though the Buckeyes did not get that first round bye, they avoid the Big Ten championship game. I feel like most Buckeye fans would have liked to play in that, but it looks like the Buckeyes are the fresher team going into this game. Do you think that's going to be an advantage for the Buckeyes? Are we back to playing football on Saturdays?
No, Friday.
Friday. Yep.
Yeah,
Notre Dame PSU's on Thursday.
I wake up on Saturday like, oh fuck, I missed the game.
I think in this game, man, you're basically, especially speaking about Ohio State's trenches, man, and what they've had to deal with. Texas has not had to face teams like this, or have not done a good job. Wow, you could bring up Georgia, but we know Georgia has struggled all year on offense. That's not what you're going to get from Ohio State. So, I mean, I don't know. I think that the Texas fans have not really just like watched film on Ohio State. And here's something that I'll say that I broke down yesterday. Quinn Ewers' worst defense that he goes up against is the too high, kind of what Ohio State and Jim Knowles has been running. And he's known to have higher turnover rates versus defenses like this going up against Ohio State. So I told guys, going in this game, our DBs need to be on a jug machine. We cannot drop those interception-worthy plays like we did in the Oregon game. Quinn is going to throw a lot of those. And Ohio State, man.
Yeah, man, I think the Buckeyes are going to be a team that is fresher, and you talk about the pressure after Quinn Ewers. I do think that he's going to throw interceptable balls. We saw Caleb Downs let one through his hands in this past game against Oregon. You would hope that if Quinn Ewers throws him something like that this next game, that we'll see that going the other way for 6. We talked, Cam, on the phone a week before the playoffs started, and you floated a theory. And boy, does it look like it's coming true. And it was a good point because it was a very funny phone call, because Cam is not usually the sunshine pumper. Not many good things to say about the team. Not very optimistic once he watches the tape. But I knew something was off because while the Buckeye fans were having a complete meltdown and were busy firing the coach and shaking ass for Mike Vrabel on the timeline, Cam was over there crunching the numbers and came up with a statistic that blew my mind. Ryan Day's 3 playoff losses have come to 3 head coaches with a combined 11 national champions. With Georgia having her quarterback in Dabo in a down year with Clemson, neither one of those guys look to be oppositions in the Buckeyes' path for this potential national championship, with opened the door for Ryan Day to be in a playoff field with all coaches that have never won a national championship. And you now have Ryan Day, Steve Sarkisian, Marcus Freeman, and James Franklin squaring off in the semifinals to decide who is going to be the next coach to assert themselves as a winner in college football. And when you look at that list of coaches, you asked me, why not Ryan Day? Cam.
He's 8-0 against 2 of the coaches in the field, which is James Franklin and Marcus Freeman. And he's never played Steve Sarkisian. So, Steve
Sarkisian did pull his pants down one time on live TV. But aside from that,
you mean Kerry Coombs? But anyways,
Kerry Coombs ain't coming back. Texas fans think that Jim Knowles was the DC in that game. Just by the way.
But all I'm saying is this is an opportunity. We're looking at a college football zeitgeist where there's going to be a monumental shift in perspective and parity when it comes to talking about the next great programs because with Alabama missing the playoffs this year and ending the way they did with 4 losses and Nick Saban being out with DeBoer, it's Kirby Smart really and everybody else when it comes to really the perspective about being a dominant coach and having a dominant national championship caliber program. Ryan Day has the opportunity now to assert himself as the next guy potentially to become the next coach that's able to win national championships and ring them off and put Ohio State in a position where they've never been before. Because you got to think, Ohio State during the whole stretch of Urban Meyer, through the whole stretch, through the end of Jim Tressel, was during the greatest run in college football history with Nick Saban. So, where's that program now? There's too much parity. We're in the NIL era. This is an opportunity for Ryan Day to put Ohio State in the right light moving forward a year after Michigan wins a national championship, to put Ohio State on the map the way that they need to be as far as a new carousel of coaches.
Mike?
Go
ahead.
One more point. Mind you, he's going to ran through Josh Heupel. He would have ran through Dan Lanning, who everyone crowned as the next great coach, beat his ass on national television. If he beats Steve Sarkisian, that's the guy that had the number 1 recruiting class this class. He gets beat. And then Marcus Freeman or James Franklin, whoever in the national championship, that would be a hell of a run for Ryan Day, for a guy that me, myself included, wanted him fired for losing 4 in a row to Michigan. And for all the people that are trolling us about that shit, let me say this very clearly. Losing 4 times in a row to Michigan and the last one being a 21-point fucking favorite is still a fireable offense when it happened, and it's a fireable offense now. So let's not get that confused. But Ryan Day is on a run to win a national championship, and if he does, that's great. That's definitely important to our program. That's definitely something that we're going to support him for. But what happened is still what happened, and that's still unacceptable at Ohio State. That's
Mike?
Yeah, I mean, my stuff fucked up. Okay. But yeah, Ryan Day, I think what he's doing is.
You're frozen, but we can hear you. Keep going.
Okay. I was like, something's messing up. But he's doing a phenomenal job in this playoffs, man. I mean, Cam basically said just about everything. What he's doing in the playoffs and what he would have accomplished, I think, will probably be one of the best playoff runs in college football history. I mean, it's not going to be hard. And I'll tell you this. If Ryan Day does this and wins the national championship, I don't want to hear anything about no SEC gauntlet. Texas has not beat a top, 10 team in the nation. Clemson was, I believe, not really a top 10 team. Arizona State wasn't really a top 10 team. So what really teams have they faced? Ohio State throughout the season would have had Indiana, Oregon, Penn State, like you said, Texas, Tennessee, all of these different schools, Notre Dame. I mean, hell, it could be Penn State again. Who knows? But to go through all of that, I mean, it would probably be one of the best coaching jobs I've seen in postseason. Obviously, it's the first year of the 12th team, but who else is going to be able to make a run like this? It's going to be very, very tough to do this in the playoffs, man. And I know a lot of fans are talking, oh, you guys should be able to do this. And Ryan, sorry, but to your point about the rotation, I think the greatest part is now you get your guys, your key guys, fresher at the end of the game.
Absolutely. I mean, and you talk about the Michigan loss. Yes, it was a beyond fireable offense, losing to Michigan 4 times.
Ron, dude, look this up for me when you have time. Is Texas the first team to be in a Final Four in a playoff without a top 10 win?
I definitely would not be able to find that before the show is
over. I'm just saying. I just want to throw that out there. I just want to throw that out there.
TCU had a top 10 win, did they?
Michigan.
But, I mean, Cam, you might be on to something because I think besides TCU, they might be.
Yeah, we're going to look that up. Go ahead, Ron. My bad. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, the Michigan loss was beyond a fireable offense when you talk about 4 straight losses and how that's unacceptable here at Ohio State. But Ryan Day, obviously, we're here to win national championships. And the thing that would make you fire Ryan Day after the 4th straight Michigan loss would be the idea that this guy can't win the games that mean the most. And outside of the national championship and the games up to it, the Michigan game is number 1 on that schedule. If Ryan Day proves an ability to go through this gauntlet of the hardest path to the national championship and complete his goal, the top priority, while there are 3 goals and beating Michigan is one of them, the last one that's always stated is win the national championship. If he's able to go out and prove his ability to do that, as a Buckeye fan, it's going to be tough to sit with 4 straight losses, but it will be much easier knowing that my coach can win the biggest, most meaningful game, and that Michigan game will come eventually. But for right now, the Buckeyes have a national championship ahead of them and still the opportunity to win one. So it is frustrating to see 4 straight losses, and it's absolutely something that Ryan Day is going to need to settle here not very soon. We got a nice long wait to sit with that loss. But after this national championship, I feel like it's the last thing that Ryan Day has to prove, and he's done it before. And if he's able to win the national championship, it would give me all the faith in the world that he'll be able to do it again.
Yeah, I think if he takes his ego out of that game going into next year, we should get a dub. Also, I think you should see a therapist too.
I would be shocked if he is already not
of calling a win against Michigan next year. No, I have no expectations whatsoever after this year. None. I gotta see.
That's why I said there's big ifs. There's big ifs. If his ego's gone, if he sees a therapist, will he do those things?
I gotta see it.
Yeah, I mean, and it feels like it's not like this Michigan team is going anywhere. I don't want it sounds crazy to say, and you'd love to be a hater and troll and make fun of them as much as the next guy. But I mean, what they're doing on the recruiting trail, Sherrod Moore proving himself as a solid head coach. I mean, I made the joke maybe Alabama should have hired Sherrod Moore after that game. And you just look around the landscape, it doesn't look like Michigan is a team that plans on taking a step back. I mean, and even with the disappointing season that they had. I mean, they still beat their rival. They beat a blue blood team in a college football not in a college football playoff, in a bowl game. You have to go into next season coming off a national championship saying, wow, we're pretty spoiled if this was a down season. So the Buckeyes will have their work cut out for them and hope to avenge that next year. But until then, they have a national championship run ahead of them. We appreciate you guys tuning in to this episode of Buckeye BS. It was good to talk to you guys, fellas. Let the people know where they can find you.
You can find me at 216_wildboy. We'll be having a show this Wednesday, The Fans Edge, at 7:30 Eastern time. And then right after the Ohio State-Texas game, win or lose, me and J.R. Rankins will be on the Voice of College Football Ohio State channel for the post game.
You can find me on Twitter at I know things 19. Also, we'll be kicking it in a Best Damn Media Discord. Yeah.
If you want to find me, you can find me at 2Ts. It's 2_TES. You can find me here weekdays on the Best Damn Media platform for the Buckeye Roast, Monday through Friday with my guy Q. You can catch me in the Bleacher Report app with Chris Drew for post-game instant reactions. And you can catch me on the Menace Sports platform for pregame and post-game analysis. We appreciate you guys tuning in to Buckeye BS. And you guys know how this thing ends. It's always go Bucks. And of course, OH.
I-O.
Come on, best coach in the nation. Fuck y'all talking about, man? Come on, stop talking bad about my dog, man.
Don't go to Oregon for no shoe deal, man. Real BIA shit. Hey, best in America. Hey, BIA is not a song.
Put a K on it.
Hey, say Oregon K. Careful what you ask for.
Yo,
we now West Coast boys.
Let them play like we ain't who we spanked back in the summertime. Spank them late, but get back out of date, cause he ain't come outside. Fans pick up them cases who got shot down by the other side. Slide well, you better go look up cases since my brother died. Niggas hoes used to be my bros, turn them homicide. Shit so close, the shit that hurt me most, I gave his mama rides. Bro was my bro, but that shit ghost, you know he testified. Teesky tweaky, take guns for no reason, got him petrified.
Nigga, go check the fucking stats for real. Y'all know what the fuck is going on. Real deal.
Boy, McButt twins, and he lost his Mick brother.
This Mr. Disrespectful. I don't know what the fuck are you ass nigga.
feel me? That's a get back. That's that get back. You feel me?
Little boys keep getting belt the ass, somebody go give them help. Shout out to the DMV, but somebody on Baltimore just got the belt. 4 shooters bounce right out. Hit him 12 times, they did it well. Hit him 12 times, they did it well. Quinn Bug, McButton twins. He lost his Mick brother. Can't forget that shit done touched his top. That nigga dropped his nuggets. Can't forget the young boy from the back block. Yeah, took off running. It was just me and Zion bending on the 9. We had 10.